Hello everyone, I'm BALDE Jonathan. You welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. The 7th of October presidential election in the Republic of Cameroon divides the Roman Catholic Church. Two heads of the church in the two main cities of the country, Yaoundé and Douala, political and economic capitals respectively, make contradicting press statements. Samuel Kleda is questioning the victory of President Paul Biya, while Jean Barga is supporting the victory of President Paul Biya and drumming support for the head of state, and also proud to the swearing-in ceremony of President Paul Biya, who won the election with 71.28%. A post-election protest erupted yesterday here in the economic capital, Douala, notably involving supporters, militants, and sympathizers of Professor Maurice Kamto of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement (CRM) political party. It met with a stiff response from security forces. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. Militants, supporters, sympathizers of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement (CRM) political party presidential candidate Professor Maurice Kamto took to the streets here in the economic capital, Douala, over the weekend, protesting against the 71.28% win of President Paul Biya, the October 7, 2018 presidential election. They met security forces on their way through the streets of the economic capital, Douala, and they were brutalized, some of them injured by security forces. As for me, Armstrong Sander reports.
While Minister Paul Atanganji accused Maurice Kamto of inciting a rebellion, the candidate and president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party goes ahead to launch his national resistance program. Minister Paul Atanganji, in what many have qualified as an anticipated outing on Friday, October 26 in Yaoundé, warned against calls of insurrection and attempts to trouble social peace.
All attempts to disrupt public order will be handled with firmness. Perpetrators, likewise those they would have incited in joining them, will have to answer before competent judicial institutions.
Barely 16 hours from his outing, Maurice Kamto's plan went operational in the city of Douala, taking the form of street protest. Sympathizers of the Kamto cause and supporters of the CRM party braved militarized streets of Douala to denounce what they qualify as electoral hold-up, before being arrested and released later in the day by forces of law and order. The minister had earlier stated in his outing in Yaoundé that the CRM candidate and his followers have been multiplying acts of provocation, promising stringent legal measures against perpetrators and partners to act against social peace.
All those who will attempt to violate the laws of the Republic will answer before the law courts and be rigorously treated by the same laws.
The minister's warning and the arrest of protesters in Douala apparently did not scare Yaoundé-based sympathizers of the CRM National Resistance Plan, who were bent on inscribing Yaoundé on the resistance map. They succeeded in staging a no to electoral hold-up protest in front of Our Lady of Victory Cathedral in Yaoundé, Cameroon's political capital, on Sunday, October 28. Commenting their resistance within the recent outing of the Minister of Territorial Administration, the spokesperson of the CRM said his party's resistance is a peaceful and non-violent demonstration, legally and constitutionally founded.
And results of the October 7 presidential election in the Republic of Cameroon is dividing the Roman Catholic Church. Two archbishops of the country's two main cities, the political capital Yaoundé and the economic capital Douala, have expressed contradicting statements over President Paul Biya's 71.28% victory. That is, contradicting statements coming from Archbishop Samuel Klida of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese and Jean Mbarga of the Yaoundé Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church. And notably, Samuel Klida indicated in his press statement that it was difficult to believe that President Paul Biya grabbed a great victory in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, as well as in the northern regions of the country, with regard to the socio-political atmosphere reigning in those parts of the country, with the Anglophone crisis that has continued deepening in the northwest and southwest regions, while the far north region of the country is hit by terrorist attacks from Boko Haram militants coming from Nigeria, and of course a region hit by extreme poverty, hardship, difficulties, and of course suffering and hunger. And of course the man of God cast doubts on the victory of the president of the Republic of Cameroon in those parts of the country, but on the heels of a protest move by opposition supporters against President Paul Biya's victory in front of the Our Lady of Victory Cathedral in the heart of the nation's political capital Yaoundé, Archbishop Jean Mbarga condemned the protest in front of the church and said that the church should not be associated to politics. Now we come back on the press statement of Archbishop Samuel Klida, who is the Archbishop of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church and President of the National Episcopal Conference. Mimi Mefo Hasmo.
On voit aujourd'hui que ces gens ont voté pour ceux qui les dirigent actuellement 89%. Il dit ça me pose sérieusement problème.
Archbishop Samuel Klida of the Metropolitan Archdiocese in Douala has said that he is not convinced that up to 89% of the population in the far north region voted for the CPDM candidate Paul Biya.
L'extrême nord est aujourd'hui la région la moins développée au Cameroun.
The far north region, according to Archbishop Samuel Klida, is one of the less developed and poorest localities in Cameroon today, and that a people in this condition cannot opt to be governed by the same system.
Alors, quand on voit aujourd'hui que ces gens ont voté pour ceux qui les dirigent actuellement 89%, il dit ça me pose sérieusement problème.
The president of the National Episcopal Conference cast doubts over Paul Biya's victory in the conflict-hit northwest and southwest regions.
La zone anglophone, où aussi les résultats du parti au pouvoir, les pourcentages sont très élevés.
According to his lordship Samuel Klida, the figures of voters advanced are questionable, given that majority of the population is displaced in other parts of Cameroon or out of the country.
Au moment où on n'a pas pu faire campagne là-bas, parce que les gens, nous connaissons la situation de la crise, alors tous ces gens, ces pourcentages, je me pose la question, viennent d'où?
According to Archbishop Samuel Klida, the petitions regarding the northwest and the southwest regions filed by opposition party candidates were founded and had to be given due attention by the Constitutional Council and not outrightly rejected.
Un slogan, l'expression rejetée, irrécevable, je crois que c'est irrécevable. Mais ce n'est que ça. Normalement, on devrait en tenir compte. Parce que les arguments présentés sont quand même des arguments fondés.
He said that Cameroon is a country with a rule of law and that the laws must be respected by the institutions in place. The general conduct of the election, according to Archbishop Samuel Klida, was not hitch-free.
En particulier, je vois dans les pays, n'est-ce pas, de l'Afrique, les pays d'Afrique, de l'Afrique centrale. Parce que on a l'impression qu'avant d'aller aux élections, on connaît déjà le résultat.
He said that the results of election in Central African countries are always known before voters go to the polls, and that Cameroon is not.
As the socio-political and security crisis hitting the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon, the northwest and the southwest regions deepens further, it is becoming more and more difficult for inhabitants of those parts of the country to put food on the table every day. And in the days ahead, the World Food Programme will be dispatching 1,091 tons of combined commodities to 4 regions of the country hit by crisis, including the two Anglophone regions, the northwest and the southwest regions. And this information was made public today here in the economic capital, Douala. Mimi Mefo has the details.
The growing humanitarian crisis in the northwest and southwest regions hit by instability for close to 2 years is a major preoccupation to the World Food Programme. For the first time, the Food Assistance Branch of the United Nations would in the days ahead provide foodstuff to 50,000 persons in different towns and villages in the northwest, southwest, littoral and west regions, harboring those in need or the displaced population seeking refuge. According to the country's program director of the World Food Programme, ABDOULAYE BALDE, food security has witnessed a dramatic decline in the conflicted regions.
First, we did a comprehensive food security and vulnerability analysis. At that time, Northwest was not too much a concern, but we noticed that there were some elements in terms of nutrition and food security that was not very positive. After 3 to 4 months, we went back. Food came at the top, apart from shelter because they were still living in the bush. So they themselves, they know food is necessary. We realize it, but the malnutrition rate is mounting.
The World Food Programme is now training personnel of the Cameroon Red Cross who would help in dispatching the 1,091 tons of humanitarian aids as from early November 2018. Their objectivity and impartiality on the field should be an important aspect of their mission.
My mission is as humanitarian assistant, and that I want to do, and that I want you to support in explaining to whoever can read or listen or hear you that we are not here to be part of anyone. Anybody in their right mind will understand that we are there to support, and then we will not be hindered one way or the other.
The World Food Programme says that their duration in the Anglophone regions would depend on the daily need of the population and above all, their security. As reporters sought to know how prepared they are to visit the regions now considered as war zones, the world's largest humanitarian organization made it clear that their mission is not political. Their priority is the suffering population who are in dire need and are victims of the ongoing crisis.
My only motto is that person that is there and vulnerable. Whatever we shall do to get there. And we must be neutral. We are not here for politics. And we're going to stay there until they come back to their foot. It means they have come back to planting and plowing. Then we know they can take care of themselves.
This is not the first humanitarian aid being dispatched to the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. The impact of government's promised assistance to the embattled population is still to be felt, whereas the need of the people increases daily as the crisis deepens.
Over 12 houses have been consumed by wild flames in the Tuamo neighborhood in the Douala 1 subdivision. The fire consumed the buildings and left practically nothing, but no human life was lost in the incident. The cause of the inferno is yet to be clearly established. Details in this report by Smart Jikan Gabriel.
An aerial view shows the damage caused by the flames on some inhabitants of the Tuamo quarters in the New Deido neighborhood of Douala 1. The fire that destroyed a church and some private properties of people renting in the locality came as a surprise late Sunday evening.
In the evening, we were all in blackout. There was no light. Time has gone, so everybody was already sleeping. I wanted to make our food. I checked my gas was finished, so I had to set up the charcoal pot outside in front of my door to make food for the child. So as I was making, I heard my son in the other apartment that was up. He was running and coming, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, there is fire, fire, fire." And upon coming, fire has already taken everywhere and trying to remove those things. Even some spark there.
For this woman, the exact cause of the inferno is unknown.
It's unknown. I don't know. I don't know. We just saw fire and we could not even begin to check that what happened. Why? Because as the children, it's even God, if not, would have burned the other boy inside there. Because as he said fire and they are going inside here, as he came out, I'm coming out with the children, the building is down. Even the neighbor, as I'm waking, I wake them up as they came back, even going back to take the ID card, no way again to go back. As they came out with the children, there was no way again to go back.
Apart from the church compound and its tenants who were taken by surprise by the flames, the residents of a neighbor was also affected as their parlor was burned down. Just some few materials were removed. At this end, they blamed the church for lighting candles. It is alleged that the church behind the house forgot its lit candles that later caught flames and attacked a gas bottle, and when the gas exploded, the flames spread into different homes. The effects of the flames would have been reduced if access ways were readily available to the area when the army rescue units arrived. For now, the victims who lost everything, including vital documents, have only their eyes to shed tears as they think about beginning life from zero.
Out of Cameroon, a 30-year-old woman blew herself up in the center of the Tunisian capital, Tunis, earlier today. At least 80 people sustained injuries of varying severities and were taken to hospital, including police and civilians, but void of fatalities. The perpetrator, who was not known to authorities for extremism, was killed on the spot. A witness reported an explosion on the central Abib Bourguiba Avenue, where police were cordoning off the area near the capital's landmark municipal theater. And that's it for the first segment of this news. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks for joining us in Talking Point. We are receiving the Cameroon Country Director of the World Food Program, ABDOULAYE Balde. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're preparing to move into some of the crisis-stricken parts of this country, including the northwest and the southwest region, in order to bring food aid to persons who are afflicted by socio-political and security crisis. What motivated this move?
Well, thank you. This is part of our mandate to support people who cannot help themselves in time of crisis. The WP has been following the situation for at least 1 year, and we've assessed the situation in terms of food security and nutrition. And as we did the assessment, we found that the situation was deteriorating. And since then, we have gone to the donors, got some resources, but as you know, physical access to the southwest and northwest had been very challenging.
How bad is the situation on the ground as far as access to food is concerned?
Well, they have not been plowing and planting their lands, at least over the last season, one could say almost 1.5 season now. So the stocks they had have been depleted, and they have not been selling the commercial farm produce. So definitely a number of people, more than usual, have now gone below the poverty level, and their food security has deteriorated tremendously. And that's why we have decided to come in, but you don't go into this kind of places unplanned. We we assess the situation, the security situation. We believe now we could go in. We are asking all different kind of permission, authorization to travel and to distribute in a way that is unhindered by anyone.
And the situation on the ground at the moment is quite difficult as far as security is concerned. It is becoming practically impossible for some inhabitants of those regions, the northwest and the southwest in particular, to move from one village to the other. How are you going to move through this difficult terrain?
We are not alone. We are going to, and we have already contacted different entities, the churches in particular, that have a system, a network in that area, and then the community, the civil society, and we plan to go in. The difficult conditions of the roads are another thing. We have contracted transporters who know the road, who are able to do it. It may be expensive, but they can do it. The most difficult part for us is insecurity, because once we send in trucks, we send in people, and with goods that are valuable, you need security. You need to be left alone to do your job, because otherwise, the world, we are the first one trying to get there in a grand scale. If that doesn't succeed, then everybody will be drawn back, and it will take a long time to come back. So really, we wish we can go there and access the area, access the people, and be able to reach out to those who really have been in need for a long time before things get worse.
As far as security is concerned, which is one of your major preoccupations as of now, to get into those places, you've certainly contacted security officials, probably the Ministry of Defense, and so on. What response have you received this far? Are you assured of some military protection to get to those places and bring aid to those people?
No, we do not need military protection. We are neutral, independent, operating. All we need is authorization to travel and information that people from all walks of life understand that we are coming to support people that are in need. We do not need military protection. We believe that we are doing is good for everyone. Then we trust that we know what we're doing. We are independently going there, assessing the needs, prioritizing support. We don't need any military protection. We just need to be authorized to travel so that we are not hindered.
And you have assembled 1,091 tons of combined commodities that you're going to bring to the people affected by this crisis.
Yes, that's what is at hand as commodities. We do have donors who are willing to give more. We have received money for at least 6 months. We haven't been able to move. So that's very discouraging for donors. We go there and tell them there's an important emergency in the southwest and northwest. We get the resources and we sit down. Now we are moving to take this food to the people. Then once we are there, we'll assess more, because we'll be on the ground with people. Then if more needs are uncovered, more resources will be available, and then we will expand. 1,000 metric tons is not much for a number of people. We are planning to start with the 50,000 people located in all the southwest, northwest, littoral, and west, who are coming from those two involved regions. At least as we go in, we will move further.
Okay, you're planning to meet those who are in other parts of the country out of the northwest region as well?
Yeah, because people have moved. A number of people have gone, in particular, by the end of September, beginning of October. A number of people have gone to the west, into littoral, because there was school opening, elections coming, a number of factors that made them move. They are there, they are in need. We would like to support them. Of course, we don't want to become a pull factor for people to leave their region and go and find out there. That's why the most important request for WFP is to access southwest, to access northwest, so that not only the people who are already there will not move to go out, but people who have gone out will realize support is provided at home and they are likely to come back.
What about those who are in neighboring Nigeria?
In Nigeria, we do have similar system with the UN, including WFP, whose role is to support those who are in the country. My responsibility at WFP is territorial here in Cameroon. When they go out, there is another system there to receive them, because there they are called refugees. Here they are called displaced people. And we are in charge of anything happening in Cameroon, supporting the authorities, supporting the people in Cameroon, within the limits of Cameroon.
And today you were training some personnel who are going to move into those places to meet the people with the aid. What exactly were you telling them? What information, what skills were you giving them as far as going to meet the people and giving them the aid is concerned?
This morning and until tomorrow evening, we are training 30 people from the Red Cross Cameroon. And we are training them really in principles of humanitarian work, to be neutral, to be human, and to be independently working. And of course, when you detain food in big quantities, there's a power there. So we want them not to be abusing people, not to exercise any power. This food is free to other people. So you have to work ethically. You have to follow rules and regulations. And you cannot abuse people because you are the one entrusted with food to give to them. So this is the kind of code of conduct that we were sharing. We are sure they know because they work for the Red Cross. They do know, but it is our responsibility to remind them what we expect from them, so that they are bound to us legally, and they are bound to respect the code of conduct that we respect.
How soon will you begin moving to those places?
Our training is finishing tomorrow. We already have hired people who are going to support WP activity in the region. We believe from the first week of November, we're going to start at least where the easiest access we know, which is in the littoral region, in the department of Wuri and Mungo, where we have already people there. Then we would move to the west region, which is very easy accessible. We know where the people are. And these are the department of Bambutos, Menua, Mifi, and Nun. Then we move to the southwest, Meme, Manunyu, and then we move over to northwest, Bamenda.
ABDOULAYE BALDE, Country Director of the World Food Program for Cameroon, thanks so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today. Goodbye.